Hi there, I'm Tony Perry, and welcome to another installment of Meet the Candidate on Crossville News First. This time we're talking with Shawn Fry, who's running in the Republican primary May 6th for the office of District Attorney in the 13th Judicial District. Shawn, give us a little background on yourself.
Well, I grew up in Cookeville. I've got an older sister and a younger brother, and we all grew up in Cookeville together. Graduated high school in 1986 from Cookeville High School. Went on to Tennessee Tech, and while at Tennessee Tech, I decided I was going to eventually go on to law school. And I met my wife Dawn at Tech, and we went to law school together. My last year and her first year overlapped, and we were poor that year. But I graduated law school in 1996, and while at law school, I went to do an internship at the district attorney's office, and I got to try 13 jury trials while I was at the DA's office, and that was before I ever got out of law school.
For those who are watching who may not know, Shawn, why don't you give us a little update on what the DA's office entails?
Well, the DA's office has 3 different offices, one in Livingston, Cookeville, and here in Crossville. The main, biggest office, I guess, is in Cookeville. It is the largest judicial district in the state of Tennessee. It's 7 counties, Clay, Pickett, Overton, Putnam, Cumberland, White, and DeKalb. It's the largest district in the state as far as the number of counties and the size of the territory.
So spanning back in your career, you did work in the DA's office at some point, right?
I interned there for 2 years, and then I was an assistant DA after that for 2 years.
So what's involved in being a district attorney? What are the requirements to be a DA?
Well, to be a district attorney, all you have to do is be a licensed attorney. Now, the reality is when attorneys get out of law school, they specialize in certain fields. You have civil attorneys, you have criminal defense attorneys, you have attorneys that specialize in criminal law. And that's exactly what I've done. I've specialized in criminal law. Being an assistant DA, all you handle is criminal cases. You don't handle any civil cases. So your focus is on criminal law, and that's where my focus has been in private practice as well.
So why do you want to be the district attorney?
Well, it's where my career began. I began at the DA's office, and I did a lot of good things there. But I was young. I was brand new out of law school. And I've always thought to myself, boy, if I could go back and do that job a second time, I could do it a lot better the second time around. And I've always had a desire to want to go back to that job. And with my private practice, I've been very successful, and I've gotten to the point to where I can go back. And with Randy York, our current our current district attorney, not running for re-election, I decided that I'm going to go back to that job.
If you're elected the DA, what are you going to bring to the table?
Well, what I think I can uniquely bring to the table is the fact that I have been a prosecutor and I have been a defense attorney. I've been on both sides of the fence. And for 18 years, I've specialized in criminal law. And I think I can bring a good perspective of exactly that, being on the prosecution side and on the defense side. I've gone to court and I've argued cases in favor of the state. I've also argued cases against the state. And that's important to know the law from both sides, from both angles. And I think that'll give me a unique perspective to be able to fight for the citizens in this district. To go to criminal court is not easy. It's a difficult job. And you're fighting constitutional law all of the time. That's what you do. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments are the 3 amendments that are fought almost exclusively by the district attorney's office. And you have to know those 3 amendments backwards and forwards in order to be successful. And I think that's what I bring to the table is the experience of being on both sides and having specialized in criminal law for so long.
So often people are somewhat frustrated about we can catch criminals and we can try to prosecute them, but there's so many loopholes and so many workarounds in the law that they get off with a lesser sentence or they get set scot-free. What can we do about that?
Well, you have 2 big issues on that. One is collecting the right amount of evidence, and you've got the evidence that is admissible in the courtroom. So many times evidence is collected, but it's not admissible. And if it's not admissible, it's though it doesn't exist. You're not going to be able to use it. The other big issue is just the reality of the numbers. You have over 2,500 cases that come through criminal court in Cumberland County each year. You've got a jail that houses 250 people. The reality is you can't put them all in jail. You just can't. You don't have the space for it. And nobody wants to pay any higher taxes. And that's the one thing I hear a lot of. People want me as district attorney to do a better job. However, they're not going to give me any more taxes to build a bigger jail. So I've got to do more with the same amount of resources. And that's going to be the tricky part. That's the difficult part. You know, if I wanted to make you a campaign promise, the good campaign promise to make is that I'm going to throw them all in jail. But it would be a promise that would be an empty promise to you. What we've got to do is start screening people. We've got to put the violent, dangerous offenders in jail. Those who sell drugs, there's a cost of doing business and they need to go to jail. Those who break into homes, those people need to go into jail. Now, there are others who are nonviolent offenders who we've got to find some other alternative sentencing for. We just simply cannot put that many people in jail. And there are many people in our court system who have a drug addiction problem. And the reason that they keep coming into the court system is because they've tested positive for drugs. Those types of people, I'm saying that we've got to find a way to go to an alternative sentence of treatment. If we don't do treatment, those people are never going to get better. And we do not have the space to house them all in the jail. So we've got to focus on treatment for those individuals. And I think if we can have the right balance of focusing on treatment for some individuals and jail for others, that's how we're going to help our system and help our community.
Let me ask you this. What distinguishes you from anyone else who may be running for the office of district attorney? What sets you apart?
Well, I believe what distinguishes me is the fact that I've been on both sides. I've prosecuted cases and I've defended cases. My experience is that I've went to Tennessee Tech University. I have a degree in business management. From Tennessee Tech, I obtained my law degree from National School of Law. And while at the district attorney's office as an assistant DA, I attended the National College of District Attorneys Career Prosecutor course. It's an intensive course that does nothing but train you in criminal law from the prosecution standpoint. I'll be the only candidate in the Republican primary who's actually been a prosecutor in the courtroom, who's presented evidence, who's cross-examined witnesses, who's argued to a jury, who's fought for a search warrant, who's fought for law enforcement. I'll be the only candidate in the Republican primary who's actually done that in the courtroom. And I'll be the only candidate in the Republican primary who actually practices criminal law. And that's so important because if you don't practice criminal law, then you don't understand what the issues are in criminal court. And if you don't understand what the issues are in criminal court, then you don't know how to change them.
What do you think is the most important thing that voters should know and get from our conversation here? What's the one thing you want them to remember?
The most important thing I would want people to remember is that I'm doing this because I miss being an assistant DA. I miss being in that position, in that job. And as a defense attorney now, I've had a lot of success. I don't need to run for this office. I can be sitting in a nice, comfy office working for myself, not having to be concerned about, payroll and being hired or fired. I'm coming back to this position because I want to make a difference in our community. I've got 2 children. I grew up in Cookeville. I grew up in this area, and I've got 2 children growing in this area. And later, at the appropriate time, I hope to be raising my grandchildren here in this area. And I want to do something that'll make a difference in this community. And I think that I've got that unique perspective of experience that I can do exactly that. I can make a difference in this community for all of us.
Good luck in your race, and thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Shawn Fry, Republican candidate in the Republican primary coming up May 6th for the office of District Attorney in the 13th Judicial District. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of Meet the Candidate on Crossville News First. I'm Tony Perry.